Right, we've all heard what's been going on and one thing and another. Like these gentlemen here, it's no secret what I think about Nick Griffin. He's the same age as my daughter, and that boy has put his life on the line for me. And I think the world of him. I honestly do not believe he knows exactly what's going on in his name, and I honestly believe he's being wound up by those of celebrity, stars, value, or whatever. Now, I went to an organisers' meeting in Canvey Island on Sunday evening. And excuse me, but I'm going to name names, because when you lie to me, you tell me lies, I'll bury you, okay? For 2 weeks, Paul Morris was phoning me and telling me he'd seen evidence of Eddie's treachery. He'd heard it. He knew something I didn't know. There was 3 of us he was phoning up on a regular basis. I won't mention the other 2 guys. Then he tells me he's heard a tape. I don't know if anyone's heard about this tape. No. Famous tape where Eddie Butler has condemned himself and admitted that he's lied, this wonderful tape. Then he tells me, don't let anybody know, please treat this as confidential. I found out afterwards that he told the other 2 guys anyway. Okay? I went to the meeting. There was 14 of us there. I was the only woman. And I've got to tell you, I'm proud to say I flattened them. You don't lie to me. They played this tape. Now, I've got to say, in all fairness, we got a lot of work done with regard to organisation. But then it came out, and I'm going to say, Paul Golding, you heard me say it, you're joking, Paul Golding and Paul Morris sat there, Paul Morris like the cat that's got the cream, Paul Golding like 007, okay? All both sitting there, we're all sitting round. Now, does anybody want to hear this tape? Anybody want to hear this tape? So we said, well, yeah, we might as well. You'll have to be very quiet and listen, because it's very quiet, but you will hear it. So they all squat down around a table with a laptop. They're squat like kids with children's hour, all sitting there waiting for the story to be told. They're squatting down, and we are all straining to hear this tape. Right? I'm talking, struggling. One guy actually said, can you turn it up? And Paul Golding said, well, no, not really. So we're struggling to hear this tape. First half finishes, and I thought, well, what am I supposed to be listening to? You know when, for argument's sake, you can hear the conversation next door. You can't tell who's saying what. It wasn't as loud as that. If you hadn't been told, you wouldn't even have known it was Eddie's voice. You might have thought, sounds like somebody I know, but you wouldn't have been able to pinpoint it. And I stand here in front of that camera and tell you straight, it was a fit-up. It was a cheap attempt at a character assassination. Okay? We heard the first half. The second half was no better, but we were told it was going to be. And all I heard somebody say something about red herring. Couldn't tell you who said it or why. In the end, I looked at them and I said, I'm sorry, I can't listen to this rubbish anymore, and you could have heard a pin drop. I went and sat down where I'd been taking notes for the meeting, and I turned around and looked at them all. I said, what a load of garbage. And then I challenged them. I said, how many of you can honestly stand there and tell me that you know exactly what was on that tape? Any one of you? Who can tell me straight, you know exactly what you've just been listening to? And I pointed to the 2 Pauls, I said, apart from what you've been told. And they all stood there like little boys that had had a good telling off. Well they stood there like that, and that you could see them all backpedaling. Paul Golding's face was a picture. I slaughtered him. Paul Morris, well, the cream must have turned sour by the look on his face. And he just stood there flattened. And I've since found Not only has he lied about his involvement, but he's dropped Paul Golding's name in it. It wasn't me, it was Paul Golding. I'm sorry, that is one spineless, sleazy worm, and the first chance I get, I'll tell him. Okay? So you know, if you hear about the tape, forget about it. You're better off listening to the Beatles. Okay? Eddie's got my support 100%. I still think the world of Nick Griffin, and I honestly believe, and I'm hoping, he doesn't realise what's going on in his name. But I want my country back. I want the values that I grew up with, and we're not going to get them with what's going on in the other camp. Not Nick Griffin's fault necessarily, but the rubbish he's got around him. Come on, Eddie, lead us.
Well done, well done. Well done, Christine. Thank you, Christine. So there you have it. Thank you, Christine. Eddie, lead us. Eddie, lead us.